Welcome everybody to episode 3 of Cruise Conversations. I'm Toby Walters. Today we have a very important topic that we're going to discuss with you guys, and that is sustainability. So before we get going with introductions to our panelists, I just want to do a bit of basic housekeeping. First of all, I just want to say that we've been doing a webinar session pretty much every week, and I've had a lot of emails from people that want to propose speakers, people that want to propose different topics, and we are listening, we're hearing you. We've just got a huge backlog of topics that we're also planning on. So please don't be offended if it's going to be a couple of months before we can get to it. But I just want to let you guys know that we are listening. We are hearing all of your submissions. The second bit of housekeeping that I want to talk about is the fact that we are going to be announcing more information on our virtual event very soon. Our marketing team have been busy putting together basically a virtual event. We can't be in Miami this year, but we will do something special to get everyone together. There'll be live keynote sessions, panel discussions, networking, lots of video calls, which I'm sure you're all sick and tired of, but we're going to do it anyway. So that is my bit of housekeeping done. I'm going to hand over to our amazing panelists, one of which you will remember from our episode 1. She just could not get away. But first of all, Lona, I'm going to hand over to you.
Yes, hello. And Toby, thank you for this opportunity. I'm marketing manager and also responsible for our sustainable business development at Danske Wilson, and we do bespoke design carpets for the hospitality industry. I've been on board 6 years now, and I'm also now considered head woman with our suppliers, so that's a very nice title. And what is very important in this session as well is that I'm also a mother, and that means that the sustainability agenda is also pushing in our household. So yeah.
Very good. Excellent. My?
Hi everyone, my name is My Nguyen, and I'm the Interior Design Director for Holland America and Seabourn Cruise Lines. We are under a group called Holland America Group, which includes Princess, P&O Australia, Holland America, and Seabourn. So I take care of 2 of the 4 brands, and we are under the bigger umbrella of Carnival Corporation. I'm also a mother of 2 children, and sustainability is absolutely a special topic in my heart. In my role, I am a visionary for the interiors of our ships, and I also am a key decision maker. And I'm very grateful to be here. I've been in the industry for almost 20 years.
Very good.
Over to Per.
Per, over to you. No pressure. Try and top that.
Okay. Well, I'm a father of 2 children. Yep, my name is Per Eriksson. I'm the business sustainable business director of Tillberg Design of Sweden. We are quite a large firm for doing what we are doing, and we work with mainly cruise ships and cruise ship interiors. We do interiors, exteriors, general arrangements, cruise ships. We are now moving into super yacht business as well, and we are actually going back into hotels again, which is I think we've been doing in the past, but not during the last golden years of the cruise industry.
Yeah, sounds like a little bit of a pivot. That's great. Excellent. Okay, guys. So welcome. As I said before, the topic of today's webinar is sustainability. It is part of a 2-episode series, and the first episode, which is today, is on from a design point of view. Next week, we're going to be doing one from a shipbuilding / new build refurb point of view, but this really is focusing on the design, the supply chain, and what goes with it. So we're going to dive straight in. We've got about 40 minutes of conversation, and then we're going to do 10 minutes of Q&A. So let's start with something fairly broad, just to get going. When we say cruise ship sustainability, what comes to mind? So first of all, Mai, what do you think of when we say sustainability?
When I think of sustainability, I think of meeting our current needs while not compromising the needs of the future. And I think of sustainability in a pretty broad way. It's not just about plastic straws and recycling. I mean, the cruise industry is probably ahead when it comes to fuel consumption and recycling per person, at least in the United States, if you're comparing that proportion. But it's more of a cyclical mindset, and it's a lifestyle, and it's a thought process for a brand visionary. How are we going to think about sustainability for the future of our guests and our crew? And, you know, as a designer, we specify so much product, and we, you know, potentially replace so much volume. What kind of decisions do we make that is going to impact the future of the industry?
Good answer. Per, what would you say?
Well, right now, there's a need to build trust for our industry and for the future. And sustainability is a great way of doing that, of building trust. It's about telling everyone you're in it for the long run, you're serious, and you don't want to profit in a way that will leave your children without resources. And I think there's a window of opportunity right now. We have seen changes so fast that wouldn't be thinkable even last year, but now it's happening, and everyone is looking for the new normal, and so everyone is open to find the new normal. Before it was business as usual, but now we are in an
evaluating
in our mind.
And Lona, what would you say, just to add to that, what do you think of?
I think of personal responsibility as an individual, but also as an organization. I think of collaboration is needed, and that sustainability is actually also a health issue, bottom line.
Yeah, very true. Excellent. Well, I just wanted to kick off with that, just because, you know, it is a very broad topic. But we are looking to, we're going to look at this from a design point of view. So for our audience watching, we will try to keep this, you know, from a design perspective. So the first thing I want to talk about is, you know, what can the designers do? The designers of this industry, you know, the Tilburgs, the Seabourns, you know, all of the big design firms. How can they ensure that they are designing from a sustainable perspective? How can they design that way, Mai?
I think as designers, we have the power of vision and specification. We are driving what manufacturers are putting together for design development. And the more that we are aware of what sustainability is, and the more that that's in our DNA, it's just, you know, it's by nature going to provide more opportunity for vendors to start producing products that is going to meet our demands.
Yeah, and Per, would you add to that?
Yeah, I would agree. The strongest tools we have when it comes to envision a sustainable alternative, it's our ability to create pictures of that future and the thinking. So this is what we do. We do it. We could do it for many reasons, but sustainability for sure is one.
Yeah. And Lona, would you know, from a supplier standpoint, I mean, Dansk Wilton have had, you know, quite the journey so far. Can you just talk to us briefly about, you know, where you've gone as a business and how that's impacted the business from a getting specified standpoint?
Yes, it's been a long journey, and that's also really one of the takeaways, that sustainability is something you need to embrace. As Mai said, it's a mindset, but still it's not just something we can do from one day to the other. It's a long journey, and that's also something we need to accept. But still we need to work on it and go in the right direction. And for us with the sustainability, as Maya also said, it's in the core business. We are manufacturing in Denmark, not in Bangladesh. That's a very good starting point for our journey. And we also, actually, we've been able to make our carpets available at the same price point, even though we have been looking into the Cradle to Cradle certification and are certified. So this is very important, I believe, to make the products available to not only one customer who wants the top best, but make it available for everybody. And we do feel that we are heard out there now. It's not just a matter of price. It's really not yet like the IMO certificate that it's a basic, but I really truly believe it will be.
Yeah, and on that topic then, you know, because before we would talk about sustainability and, you know, you would aspire to be more sustainable. It's actually happening now, isn't it? Actually, you're winning contracts based on that sustainable ethic that you've got. And I think that we can give an example, Mai. I mean, give us the example of working with Dansk Wilton, just for our suppliers that are watching.
Yeah, the Dansk Wilton Origins product is a perfect example of aesthetics, price point, and sustainability story. So about a year and a half ago, I was developing the designs of carpet for our new build design, our new build ship that's coming out next year. And so I had selected 3 flooring partners, 3 carpet partners, all very wonderful partners that have great contributions. I spent an equal amount of time with each company, and they all came back and met the design brief, all really fantastic options. And when our leadership team was reviewing all of the options, because you can imagine for a cruise ship how much volume carpet is in all of the cabins, we loved the sustainability story. We loved that the Origins carpet didn't include any dyes. It was all natural colors of wool. And the aesthetics was absolutely beautiful. And that's what our team selected because of that story. So it's happening now. I mean, that's so exciting that, you know, Dansk can be an example of that. There's a lot of examples, and we need a lot more. We need a lot more of that.
And that's a message to the supply chain. I mean, that is a prime example of price, quality, all of that is a huge factor. But, you know, if you can develop your product to be more sustainable, you have that edge on your competition. So, Per, what would you say in terms of Tilburg specifying companies? Is that as important to you guys? How do you go about finding suppliers?
Well, we ask them how they work and how their supply chain is working, and how much actually the recycled content of their product. If we're going circular, one shortcut is to start with recycled. Then we are already in the circle. So that would be an important factor, and they should have a clean and safe production. And actually, it's not always more costly to be more sustainable. That is, I think it's costly to be sloppy, but being clean and safe is not so costly. You might find you're actually saving money on having better control of your production. So, and quality is one.
Yeah.
Am I too long?
On that subject then, Lone, you mentioned cradle to cradle. Now, this was a term that was new to me when we met in Miami last year and you were on the stage. Talk to us about what cradle to cradle is for those that have never heard of it before, and where does it come from and what does it mean?
Basically, cradle to cradle is a philosophy looking into the circular economy. That means seeing materials as nutrients for something else. So waste is always a resource for something new. Having that said, it's also a certification tool, but for us, it's also been the tool for the business development within sustainability. So it looks in the certification, it looks into 5 categories. That's also what makes it so holistic. So you look into not only the circularity of the product, but it looks into the material health, and as Per said, how much reused material do you have, or renewable resources, and the water stewardship, the processes. So it's a really good tool, but still also it's really a mindset, and then looking into a philosophy.
Okay, and does the cradle to cradle, does that apply to all suppliers? I mean, we've got, you know, if you look at the people that will be watching this, there'll be, you know, flooring suppliers, lighting companies, textiles, all of that, you know, the whole supply chain. Who does it apply to, and how can they find out more about it?
It applies to all products. Basically, it's a lot within building. For hotels, for instance, or land-based buildings, there are many products within this area. But you have textiles, you have clothing, you have all products. You have shampoo.
Okay.
So every product could be certified.
Okay.
And you can find out more if you Google Cradle to Cradle. There's a Cradle to Cradle products registry as well, and then you just need a partner to assess you and make the assessment. So.
And is this something that you and the designers that work for you are well aware of? I mean, is this something that you're constantly asking the supply chain if they're part of?
You know, for the marine industry, it's a newer concept because you have to go full circle. And where we always get stuck is once we specify and when we're ready to replace, you need to retrieve that material. Usually it would be at a dry dock to be able to bring it back to its original source. And that's where we've always been caught. So, I mean, it would be a dream coming from a brand to be able to have that full circle, you know, with upholstery, with textiles, with carpets, because there's so much volume potential there that we can recycle and upcycle. It's certainly an interest and a conversation. As far as an implementation, I would say it's newer for the marine industry to start working on that. Yeah.
And when you say it's the stumbling block is then using it, you know, again, once it's at dry dock, I mean, is that, without getting anyone into trouble, is it the shipyard that has that way? So once the carpet comes out, is it down to the original supplier to retrieve that, or is that down to the shipyard to say, okay, we'll take that and that will go back to the supplier? Does anyone want to have give that an answer?
Yeah, and at least I can say that. Yeah, at least I can say that the Cradle to Cradle certification is not only about bringing the product into the circular economy. Of course, that's the 100% goal long term, but we are not there yet because of all the points you just mentioned, Mai. It's really a huge assignment for anybody who wants to do this. So actually, it's very much also about looking into the design phase of your product. In order to secure healthy materials, but also to secure a product that can be either recycled or reused, designed for disassembly or like things like this. So even though Cradle to Cradle is about the circular economy, it's not necessarily the first step, or it won't be. It can't be. It could also be by innovating a biodegradable product instead, so you don't have to recycle it.
Yeah. So if we think about this in the detail, you know, we'll have a lot of people watching this that, you know, they might not be the business owner, they might be you know, someone that's in the business that doesn't have the final say. What can they do? What can someone that's perhaps a designer within a design firm or a salesperson within a textiles company, how can they make a difference? What questions can they ask their own the owners of the business? Mai.
I think, first of all, awareness. What is sustainability to them? What is sustainability to their business? Also, for the business owners, questions. If you're a designer and you're designing for a brand, for a company, ask questions beyond what is the look and feel or the space plan of this project. To give you an example, if you were designing for a restaurant on a cruise ship that requires food display, ask questions that are going to help you innovate ideas where you can provide a bountiful, luxurious aesthetic without creating space where the cruise lines have to put so much food in that space that they have to throw it away every 4 hours due to USPH regulations. It's things like that, thinking outside of the box as designers, that would be really helpful. And also as vendors, you have a part in who you partner with as well. If everybody has a sustainability thought in their DNA, then by nature, we're going to be partnering with people that have the same goal. So it's really questions about, ask yourself, what is your vision in aligning what the sustainability aspect is, and then ask others if those goals are meeting your own.
Yeah. And Per, would you add to that? I mean, you big design firm.
Yeah, I think a common mistake that we do being designers is that we don't really go in depth into knowing what the operations of things, and into operations there is so much of the sustainability aspect, really, like your example, Mai, and it's not really hard. It's just to ask a little more questions, to get a little bit deeper into understanding the logic behind a feature in a ship, and then you can start reinventing that feature, which is also the most innovative and fun to do. So it's a win-win, really.
So in terms of, so if we look at the small wins, then when you were just talking about designing something that's biodegradable, I mean, that's quite a big step. How, if we're looking at the small steps, how much detail can you go into? So if you think of a textiles company, would you consider something like the way they ship their product or the packaging that it's in? Or, I mean, are you looking at the absolute detail in there as well, Lone?
Yeah, I believe it's a part of the package. Of course, you need to define for yourself what goals you want to reach within these categories. For us, for instance, we have been looking into the packaging as well, but we did that before as well. But our carpet tubes are made of recycled plastic. But that's also kind of low-hanging fruits. It's easy.
Okay.
Also for us, it was easy to shift to wind energy. So that's really done quickly. Well, what is more difficult is maybe optimizing on materials and looking into the substances you use, having all the substances mapped and assessed. But that shouldn't keep you from doing it, even though it might be difficult. And if you do not have the resources or the knowledge within your own company, then partner up with someone who could help you get this step further. Yeah.
And on that note of the knowledge, that's the huge thing, isn't it? Because without knowledge, how do you know any of this even exists? Per, can you give us some examples of maybe some of the certifications people can look into, or some of the websites they can turn to for that information?
Yeah, it's been said before here that the certifications, it's a good shortcut for communicating qualities of your product. The real thing is really how you produce it, and then if you do it in a good way, you can get the certification. And certifications there are certifications that are really you could say basic in a sense, that like you would have the FSC, that is that this wood has been harvested in a responsible way. There's been replanting of trees and so on. So that's very specific. And then you can have cradle to cradle, that is really about your whole business. And you can go even further on land. We have certifications like LEED, that would be for buildings. That would be a whole system of thinking that is also helpful for you if you want to change your business. So I think you need to be a little bit strategic with who you choose. There are hundreds of certifications out there. We would look for Cradle to Cradle, FSC, Green Guard, EU Flower, Energy Star, B Corp, and a number of more certifications.
We'll put all of those that you've just mentioned in the comments. I'm sure that we're probably working that on. You might need to say it again in a sec, but anyway, we'll produce all those links that you guys can take a look at. There's a cost involved in that, of course. You know, if a company, for example, Dan Squilton, if you guys want to go for the cradle to cradle, there is going to be costs occurred along the way. You might get it back in along the lines. How does a cruise line warrant that expense? Like, as in, if you were going to buy a product that's more expensive because of its sort of green accreditations, where do they see the ROI on that?
Are you asking me, Toby? I guess so. I mean, I think there's several ROIs. The ROI is one. I mean, we want cruisers long term, not short term, right?
Okay.
The reality is, when it comes to budgets, if you have a product that is sustainable and competitive and beautiful, that sustainability aspect will for sure tip the decision. And we, as drivers, are, it's like we are relying on the manufacturers to meet those needs. Because the reality is, if your product is sustainable, but it's twice the amount of what everything else is in the market, it's just harder because maybe not all the decision makers are in line with what that goal is, right? But I think that's kind of like the immediate discussions going on right now. But if you fast forward in 5 years, everyone's going to be consistent, in my opinion. Sustainability is not a trend, or it's not even a marketing thing. It's just a responsibility that we have. And the more that we have demand for this, the more products that'll be out there. And so it's kind of that the ROI, I think, is decisions now, and it'll just be a no-brainer in a few years.
Yeah. Well, we were talking just before we hit go on the webinar that there's some fashion labels that have come out and said that in fast forward 5 years and there'll be no brand that doesn't have that sustainable route that will be around. Would you guys agree with that when it comes to the supply chain in the cruise industry? And I know that's a big thing to say, but do you agree with that when it comes to fabrics, textiles, flooring for the cruise industry? Fast forward, say 5-10 years.
10 years for sure.
It needs to be. And it's not just the cruise industry, it's everywhere. It's every industry.
And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's also a matter of the clothing industry is also diverse. You have the fast fashion. I believe that is really challenged. Also during these times, they have too much clothes on stock. So you have different aspects within the same, but I do believe that high quality and sustainability is like, you have to have an IMO certificate. It's just the same.
Yeah, and Per, what would you say like for Tilburg's specification? I mean, are you guys going to sustainable first when you're looking for a supplier? Is that the first thing you're looking for now? And how long ago was that not the case?
No. If we talk about sustainable as environmentally friendly, it wouldn't be the first thing that we look for. The first thing is, can this product solve the problem that we have? Is the quality there? Is it is there a product range? Can we work with this? So we would start on certain qualities, and then we would go for IMO and other qualities that we need to have. But this one is quickly becoming another quality that we need and that we want. So it's it will be the new normal will be that a product is sustainable. I'm convinced of that. And we're moving into the new normal right now. So
that's right, we are. And so Mai, then a question to you is, if you look at the range of products that are available to you, there's already a difference between what's available that's not IMO and then what there is that's IMO. Are you then removing a whole? If you're looking for something that is sustainable, is there a problem with the range available in terms of suppliers that are sustainable?
Yeah, I think some products are more further along than others. Like, for example, we're going to fill an entire ship of cabins with a sustainable carpet. You know, that's already there. That's wonderful.
Okay.
I think there's a ways to go with textiles. To be honest, I would love to see more sustainable, aesthetic, durable products in that market. There's great potential there because as a designer, we're designing what you think in a puzzle piece. So you pick something, some inspiration, some texture, and then you design around that. But if all you see right now in the textile market is one kind of texture in a limited color range, that still has that story, it's really hard for that to work with the puzzle piece of everything else. So I would really encourage any of the textile designers out there, or wall covering, for example, would be another market that I think has potential to develop more product. Hard surfaces, sure. I think hard surfaces have a different timeline, like a different life cycle. So usually the hard architectural surface stay longer. But things like wall covering and textiles are replaced a lot quicker. We need bigger range.
And Per, would you add anything to that from a design point of view? Is there anything missing? You know, for the suppliers that are watching this, you know, you may say, you may ignite something here.
Yeah. I made a list after you gave me that question, so I made a short list of dream products. This is not from, this is from sustainability, or what I find lacking. So a good mattress that is recycled would be really nice. They have hopefully a short lifespan from a hygiene point of view, but they do need to be replaced, and it would be, and imagine 2,500 cabins with double beds. It's quite a huge volume of stuff. So if that could be improved, that would be great.
Yeah.
You would have the same forms or the same issues, you could say, with the cores of furniture, this foam cores, but they have a longer life cycle, so they are not replaced as often.
Okay. Very good. And on that subject then, life cycle, you know, we've spoken about this before. How does life cycle have an impact on sustainability? So for example, if you're changing things every 12 months as opposed to every 3 years, how does that impact with life cycle and how robust that product is?
I think it's kind of a bigger question. With life cycle goes design, and as designers, we're also driving vision of what is considered current and what is not. Also a consideration is budget. I mean, the reality is, you know, over the next few years, budget for, you know, the cruise industry, for supply chain, everyone, we're really going to be looking at how we're going to spend our dollars. You know, how long a product is durable, I think that is actually going to be a forefront question. I don't want to replace things every 12 months. It's just not sustainable. It's not responsible. And why? You know, like if vendors are thinking about volume as profit, I encourage people to think of it differently in a bigger spectrum. You know, if furniture manufacturers are thinking, if I get new chair orders every year, every 2 years, then that's a good cycle, I encourage us to think outside of the box. Like, what if chairs, you keep a really sturdy frame, but you can replace the arms and the backs because we know that they're going to be cleaned 10 times more over the next few years. And replacing components is going to be a lot more of a responsible way than replacing full new chairs after a few years. So it's that kind of thinking with life cycle.
I mean, if you're a furniture manufacturer out there and you've just heard that, get in touch with us if you've designed that, where you can replace the backs and the arms. I love that idea. The other question I wanted to ask is on that life cycle, what happens to, say, for example, you replace all those mattresses or you replace all those chairs at dry dock? Per, what happens with all those products after? Where do they go?
Well, I wish I could say that they are being recycled or upcycled, but this is really a complex thing. It's when we produce the ships, we are in control, but when we refit them, that might happen in anywhere in the world, and jurisdictions are different. So I would say that a lot of stuff ends up in landfills, and that it's kind of a cross-industry responsibility to figure out how we can solve this, because I think this is too big an issue to be solved by an interior design firm.
We've actually had a recycling program for mattresses where we donate them. The challenge is it costs the company a lot of money. And also there's challenges depending on where your dry dock is. Some countries just don't allow for donating mattresses, so we end up having to ship them to another country to do that. And so there's that conversation going. It just all, it costs money. And if we're looking forward of budgets being really limited because revenue has been stopped for months and months, those are decisions that we have to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we started the session, Lone, I asked you to come up with five key things that a supplier can do. So, practical advice. So it'd be good to go through those 5 things now. So if you're a supplier and you're listening, listen to what Lona's got to say. So we'll talk about the 5 as they go. So what's number 1?
I think it's difficult to say what's number 1 and what's number 2 because they're all connected. So
in no particular order.
Yeah, but actually, as Mai started the discussion, sustainability is a mindset. That's really the first step. That you have to see sustainability as an opportunity and not as a problem. And you need to have the will and the courage to change things, both within your organization and also in relations to your product. And it also calls for management to be highly involved. Of course, the designer or the marketing manager or the sales manager can take action, but you need management involved as well. And then I really believe that sustainability should be a part of your core business. It's not just a department having their own party somewhere. It's throughout the organization.
Yeah. And Tilburg Design of Sweden have been huge ambassadors of this now. I mean, is that a conversation that happens with the likes of Fredrik Johansson? Is that something that you guys have been discussing a lot recently?
I think it has changed dramatically over a few years, really. When I started talking about this, and the now former owner, Colin Falk, we started talking about this, there was a slow awakening, you could say. Nowadays, everyone is talking about this every second sentence. I don't have to say anything. I can just lean back and enjoy. So it is in the minds of people in our company now, and that is great because, as Lone says, it's small steps. And all these small steps, it can't be governed from top, really. It has to be in everyone's kind of ambition to improve on this. And I think we are there now. Yeah.
Yeah. And on that, I think that leads you to point number 2 then, Lona. What's your number 2? What's the second thing? So first one is being, it's a mindset. Number 2?
And then it's you have to set ambitious goals. However, you also need to know where you are. Your starting point, but it's very important that you know where you want to go. It's not a matter of getting there on the short term, but it's a matter of having the direction. And how will you become more sustainable? We just talked about making one product that might be too expensive for everybody to buy in on because you want to make it biodegradable and you want to have, wool from a certain sheep that is not only available somewhere. So you need to know where you want to make your efforts. Yeah. If it's material health, if it's wind energy, or if it's both. And also, as I said, it's really a journey you're starting. So, yeah.
Okay. And would you say from a cruise line perspective then, are those conversations happening internally as well? So for example, where are we now and where do we want to get to? I mean, is that from a design point of view, is that something you've got a vision on?
Absolutely. I mean, I think now more than ever, we're all talking about where do we want to get to, because what is normal anymore?
Yeah.
And what is important to us? What is important to the future of cruising, and what is important to future cruisers? Yes, absolutely.
Very good. And Per, just on that topic then, on that note, have you guys sort of mapped out by a certain year you want to have, all of the companies that you specify having some sort of sustainable impact, or a better sustainable impact? Is that something you've considered?
That's an ambition of mine, that we could go there. But as we need to be able to quantify somehow in a good way how many of our suppliers, and so we're working on that one, on how can we put up good KPIs for sustainability when it comes to specifications. That could be, I mean, that's one of our big vision and specification. That's one of our two
Very
powers,
good.
right?
Excellent.
So
cool. So point one, we've got it being a mindset. Number two, you've got to map your goal. You've got to figure out where you are and where you want to get to. So what's the third point, Lona?
You have to act on it. But still, you have to eat the elephant one bite at a time, because otherwise you won't be going anywhere. Then you will just give up before you you take the first step.
Yeah.
And also, what is said within the cradle to cradle mindset is that the perfect should not stand in the way of the good, meaning that, well, knowing that we are not able to introduce the circular economy tomorrow in the cruise industry, this shouldn't keep us from trying to get there. We just have to take it one step at a time, and then gain knowledge on this. But for us, this was also acting. We knew that we needed a tool to know how to go there. We needed a roadmap, as you just asked, Per, what is your vision and where do we want to go? But we needed a tangible tool in order to get us there, and that's where we used cradle to cradle. So and also it's important to have smaller milestones on the way, also to celebrate them, because otherwise just to keep motivated in the process. And we did it. Okay, we know we have to go further, but we did this.
Right. And Mai, would you say there's any small wins along the way that you guys could give advice on? Little things that maybe suppliers can do, designers can do, basic things. Is there anything you'd advise on?
There have been more products in the last year that I've seen with sustainability and IMO in mind that I've ever seen before. I think that's great. I would say just keep innovating, keep asking us and asking each other what's out there. It's getting there, and the more that everybody asks those questions, the quicker we'll get there.
Yeah. And Per, so have you got any sort of small wins that the suppliers can do? I mean, is there little things that they can do today, today, that they can go back to the office tomorrow if it's open, and they can say to the leadership team, here, I think we should look at this. What's the sort of key?
I would say the one of the easiest, it's me saying, I'm not the producer, but if you can increase the recycled content or renewable content of your product, that would be perfect. And it could be by 10%. It doesn't have to be 50.
Yeah.
If you've learned to do 10, then perhaps you can do 20. You keep at it. So that would be at least on the paper an easy task.
There you go. Okay, so point number 4 then, Lona.
Yes, engage in partnerships and take responsibility in your value chain. That's actually 2, but part of same solution. Actually, we noticed in this development that a lot of our sustainable development is actually happening outside our own organization. Suppliers, for instance, we can't optimize on our materials if we are not in a close relationship with our suppliers. So in this way, we also push their sustainable agenda, and this has this butterfly effect. So actually, even though we believe, okay, we're a small supplier, we actually drive a lot of change throughout the value chain. Of course, it demands for a new mindset as well, because our supply chain director, he would probably say to me, we are getting too close to our yarn supplier, for instance. We need to be able to have more suppliers, but in order to become more sustainable and optimize on the existing, you really need to engage in a closer relationship. And also the partnerships, it goes, as Per said, if we have to deal with our waste issue in this industry, I think this calls for collaboration throughout the industry.
Yeah. So perhaps the CLEAR, for example, the trade association, they could be working with the yard and the design firm and the outfitter, and it's collaboration, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of discussions right now about the global, you could say, collaborations when it comes to fighting COVID and how do we get the cruise.
You said the COVID word. We've gone this far without saying it. Unbelievable.
Yeah. No, but what I meant was collaboration. so there's a lot of collaboration and discussion on how do we handle this as a global community, and this is another question that is best handled by the global community. So we need to do this one together, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, and point number 5, the final point.
Ensure credibility. I mean, walk the talk. This is really a difficult thing to handle and embrace sustainability. And it's okay to say that it's difficult. It's okay to say that you face challenges. It's much more credible. It's much more trustworthy than saying, oh, we are acting like this. We are there. We reached our goal, because I really believe we will never reach the goal, because if we reach the first goal, we'll just have another vision and another goal where we want to go. And this could also be the documentation and the transparency. It could be certification, but at least be honest. Also towards internally, but also externally. So this is also a matter of preventing greenwashing.
Yeah. Very good. Would you add anything to that, Mai?
Yeah, I loved everything everyone said. Yeah, no, I can't add more.
On this credibility note, it would be, if we're talking about the industry collaborating, it would be really, really lovely if there was a certification system for cruise ships, similar to the LEED or the BREEAM that we have on hotels and land-based projects. That would make it so much easier to push this forward. So I'm really hoping for this. So anyone who has any influence on this that is listening in, please help us.
Excellent.
I would add that there's a sustainability summit that is now pushed out to the next year because of the Seabourn, which, you know, that was discussed to come together as a community and talk about this elephant in the room. So look for that in the future, you know, in collaboration with, you know, partnering with Cruise Ship Interior Expo. But it's certainly a topic that's important that everybody is going to be discussing more in the near and distant future.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll as I say, we're working with you on that, so we'll be sure to let everyone know. Cool. Okay, guys. So thank you very much. We're going to head to a Q&A. So we've got a few questions that we'll put to you. So the first one is from our good friend Mark Henderson from Magic Man, which we all know and love. What are the key aspects of selection of a material or product to be used in interior design? Sustainability in service. Wait there, sorry, let me just reread this. What are the key aspects for selection of a material or product to be used in interior design. Okay, so what do we look at? Price, recyclability, durability, design, or from a trusted supplier. So what would you say is up there on the priority list then, Mike? All of the above.
What happened to all of the above options? Actually, really, it is all of the above. And, you know, having worked very closely with Mark's company, Magic Man, I mean, what a fantastic sustainability story that they have. You know, instead of having to replace all of these materials, then you can actually make them look new again. I honestly, it is all of the above. And I will be totally honest with you. We are going to be very selective as brands moving forward because we have to be. We're going to have to be very selective with what partners are true partners with us, what their mission statement is, if it's aligning with us. So really all of the above. Sorry, that's not easy, but.
And actually, that's an important topic, isn't it? Because, you know, as budgets get smaller because of everything going on, there will be an argument to repair as opposed to replace, won't there? I mean, that's exactly what. And I don't want to plug one company, but that is a viable option, right? As opposed to having to replace a natural stone, or, you know, you can repair it now. Is that something you think will grow as the budgets are smaller for the next couple of years?
Yeah, of course. I mean, who would say no to that, right? But we need everything, because that, you know, that's one aspect of what's going to improve the environments of the ships, but that's not the one thing that can save everything. We need a holistic approach. We're going to need new products. We're going to need replacement products. We're going to need to keep products and make it look new. So we need all of that. We're going to be selective with who we're partnering with, because we can't spread it out to everyone. Yeah.
So the next question is a question from Emanuela Pizzetta from Carpe Diem, which I'm sure we all know. How much will this situation increase after the C word? So I think the question actually means, with regards to replacing furniture because of the amount of times it's going to be cleaned, how will that be impacted by coronavirus, which will then impact the sustainable sort of aspect of it, replacing of materials via cleaning because of the amount of times it will be cleaned? Per?
I would assume that you have a number of cleanings in a textile, and then it will look worn. And for sure, ships will be cleaned more often now. So I would, yeah. So I think textiles will be replaced more often. Surface materials overall will be replaced more often now. They are seldom worn. It's often the cleaning that kind of takes the life out of surface materials. So, yeah.
Maya, would you add anything to that? Have you got an opinion on that?
Yeah, I could see it both, actually. I could see a peak in needing to replace material right away, just seeing the writing on the wall of what we have to adapt to. Nobody 3 months ago knew, you know, the impact of what the interiors of the ship would be because of this. But I think once that wave is done, we're also going to be thinking about the longevity of products. You know, is it sustainable, durable, and beautiful? Does it meet IMO? Because that is more of a long-term thought, and that is going to be a product that will carry through for years and years.
Yeah. So the next
we need
question,
stuff now, and we're going to need stuff for long term too.
Yeah. So the next question is in the comments. It's actually anonymous. They haven't put their name, but how will wellness influence your sustainable approach to design? Per, have you got anything on that? How will wellness influence your approach to design?
Well, wellness is another big driver right now. We want to stay healthy, and perhaps even more now with all things going on. So it's getting more and more important. And designing communal wellness centers on ships is, of course, more challenging now that you actually touch a lot of the stuff, and you have to keep it clean. And how do you keep it? Do we increase the space, or how do we handle that? So yeah, so for sure we will have to rethink a little bit when it comes to that.
Yeah. Mai, would you add anything to that on wellness design? I mean, do you think sustainability is? I mean, we've seen a huge increase in wellness as a whole on the planet, right? People are spas and all that sort of stuff on ships. How do you think sustainability impacts that?
I think when I think of wellness, I think of sustainability. I mean, you can't really have one without the other and really be true to that. So I think as far as wellness design, as far as what materials impact our wellness, what chemicals we use even to clean, what fibers we use that we're going to be touching, that's all one.
Yeah. And the next question, again, another anonymous one. Oh no, actually they've just put their name. So from Perla Soto, we have a question. Lone, this one's for you. Do you have any comment on the additives and chemicals needed to make materials IMO certified that would impact sustainability? So is there anything you guys use that needs to be almost a treatment for the flooring that has an impact on sustainability?
There will, of course, if you look into chemicals that make the product more fire resistant, they are normally not the best chemicals used. However, we use a product 80% wool, and wool is nature fire resistant. We add a bit adhesive, but we still have the VOC A+ for indoor air climate. So it could be looking into not only the treatment you have to give the fabric, but actually the fabric itself, if you can find any material that is fire resistant from nature. And that's just what we are doing. And I don't know the products out there, if there is any product better than the other.
Okay. And the final question then, guys, is from a guy called Dylan. He hasn't left his company name, but it's a fairly broad one. How realistic is it that the cruise lines would go for a sustainable product with increased costs, given the current situation with budgets? So I think we have discussed this at the beginning of the session, but Mai, how realistic is it that you guys are now going to go for a sustainable option if there's an increase in costs given the current climate, economic climate?
I think it'll depend on other components as well, not just the sustainability. If it's 200% more, realistically, probably not.
Okay.
But I think that's a short-term answer as well, because the longer-term answer is, with demand, with innovation, with quantity, the cost is going to go down, and that's certainly going to be tipping the decision. So there's a realistic short-term aspect, but I encourage everyone to think long-term as well.
Yeah. Per, would you add to that?
Well, there's always cost, and there's always risk. There are a lot of things that are constant. So, and probably, sustainability, it's about three things. It's economical, it's social, and it's environmental. And if you have to push so hard on the environmental that you won't get the economical working, then you should perhaps figure out another way. So there has to be a balance between what you get and what you pay. Actually, so I think go for the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of easy things to do, and well, Tesla. The Tesla is a proof of that you can do a really expensive thing that is sustainable. But if you're going for the cruise ship and the normal cruise ships, I should say, then it's not Tesla. It's a volume thing, and you won't get away with any price. That is the reality of it.
Yeah. Lone, would you add to that as the final thing?
I think it's not always a matter of a higher price talking sustainability. Of course, if you need transparency and traceability and certified wool in our case, for instance, of course this will be more expensive. But again, then you have to make the decision, would you prefer to optimize on your bestseller instead and then reach maybe a bit lower level, but still the overall effect might be higher than making a product that is also, we have been talking about design. I still believe very important that the design part of it is very nice and beautiful as well, because otherwise it's not an option. But it's not always a matter of price. Then maybe you should look into other aspects. But of course, if you want the traceability or the certified wool or something, in our case, that would probably be a bit more expensive.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time. We are just going to finish off with a little comment from each of you. So we've had a chance to all pause. We can, say we can hit the reset button. I just want you guys to give the industry a message individually. What would you like to say to everyone with regards to sustainability and us restarting as an industry? Per, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is a window of opportunity. I said that before, and we have a chance to rethink things, and there are some really nice thoughts out there, thoughts that are from necessity, you could say, like cruise to nowhere or slow cruising. These are concepts that are being discussed as solving the closed ports and these limitations. But at the same time as they are limitations, they are also a great possibility for sustainability. If we would do slow cruise, we could reduce the cruise ship's fuel consumption by 50%, with just 20% or so slower cruising. And if passengers could perceive that as an improvement, that this is a quality aspect of things, it's a wellness aspect of things, then we have a super win-win. And I'm sure there are more of these if you dig into it, and if you allow yourself to be outside the box a little bit. Yeah,
excellent. Lone, what would you say?
I actually have to first take personal responsibility. You can actually drive change. And also, I believe we have been talking a lot about consumption and also cutting down on consumption, because that's also a sustainable point of view. However, I would still like to travel. I would still like to buy shoes. I would still like to buy my dress. So if we could get there where we produce products that are healthy and not bad for the environment of humans, that is my vision. Because I would really still like to consume.
Yeah, right. Fine, no pressure.
Well, first of all, Toby, thank you so much for having all of us for this great panel. It's an honor to be on with Lone and with Per, and to have this opportunity to reach out to the community. So thank you to you and your team. I think from what I've learned, or I've learned a lot of things in this pandemic, but it's really made me reflect on the importance we have as individuals to take action, because we've learned that if we are a carrier without even knowing it, and we go out without a mask and we cough on someone, I mean, that actually can affect people's lives. And so I think in the past, the mentality is, as far as sustainability, our responsibility is, I'm just one person, so I don't really matter. I'm just going to wait for a bigger force to tell us what's right or what to do, but we really have a responsibility of what's right. And when it comes to sustainability, we can do a lot. We can ask questions, we can inform our leaders, we can drive decisions, we can drive vision, we can connect with our community if we want to learn more. So I think as individuals, we have a lot of opportunity to drive this responsibility we have for the future in sustainability with whatever our jobs are and our roles are in our business and in our lives.
Yeah, Very well put. Excellent. Okay, guys. Well, thank you again for joining us. Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Sounds
Take
good.
care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.